What if everything you've ever been taught about creating wealth was completely backwards? Here's a question that might shake everything you thought you knew about money. What if the chair you're sitting on right now, the phone in your hand, even the walls surrounding you at this very moment, all began as nothing more than a fleeting thought in someone's mind? But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating, seeing who's joining us from around the world. Has this ever happened to you? You've worked incredibly hard, followed every financial strategy, applied every technique the experts recommended, yet somehow the money you desperately need continues to slip through your fingers like water? The truth that Florence Scovel Shinn discovered decades ago, and what modern science is only beginning to understand, is that consciousness isn't just awareness. It's the very fabric from which your entire financial reality is woven. Every dollar that has ever existed, every fortune that has ever been built, every opportunity that has ever materialized, began not in the physical world, but in the invisible realm of imagination and thought. Think about this for a moment. The smartphone you're watching this video on was once just a wild idea in someone's mind. The building you're in was first constructed in an architect's imagination before a single brick was laid. Even the money sitting in your bank account right now, or perhaps the money you wish was there, follows this exact same principle. What you're about to discover might surprise you, but it will fundamentally change how you approach wealth creation forever. You see, most people are trying to manifest money from the outside in. They're pushing, forcing, strategizing, and exhausting themselves trying to manipulate external circumstances to bring them financial abundance. But consciousness, as the only reality, means that your inner world of thoughts, feelings, and imagination doesn't just influence your external world, it literally creates it. This isn't some mystical concept or wishful thinking. This is the precise mechanism by which every single thing you can touch, see, or experience came into existence. Stay with me until the end of this video, because what I'm about to share with you will flip your entire understanding of money manifestation upside down. When you truly grasp that everything starts as imagination, when you realize that your financial reality is being broadcast from your consciousness every single moment, you'll understand why all your previous efforts may have been focused in completely the wrong direction. The wealthy understand this secret intuitively. They don't just think about money differently. They exist in a completely different reality where abundance isn't something they chase, but something they embody from within. And once you see how this works, once you understand the true relationship between your inner world and your bank account, you'll never approach money the same way again. But here's where it gets really interesting, and where most people completely miss the mark. I'd love for you to subscribe, because what we're exploring here goes far deeper than surface-level content. This is a space where real transformation happens, where we dive into the truths that actually change lives rather than just sound good for a moment. Here's the hidden truth that the financial world doesn't want you to discover. You already possess the exact same creative power that brought entire galaxies into existence. This isn't some feel-good metaphor designed to make you feel better about your current situation. When ancient texts spoke of being made in our image, they were revealing the most profound secret about human consciousness and its relationship to material reality. Most people approach money manifestation like they're begging the universe for scraps, as if they're somehow separate from the very force that creates abundance. But this perspective keeps you trapped in a cycle of effort without results. Struggle without transformation. The real revelation comes when you understand that you don't need to earn your way into wealth. You need to assume your way into it. Florence Scovel Shinn discovered something revolutionary about how the mind interacts with financial reality. She found that the people who consistently attracted money weren't the ones working hardest or following the most complex strategies. They were the ones who had mastered the art of assumption. They didn't hope for money, wish for opportunities, or chase after success. They simply assumed these things were already theirs, and then lived from that assumption until reality had no choice but to catch up. This is where most people's mindset gets completely derailed. They've been conditioned to believe that everything valuable must be struggled for, fought over, and earned through blood, sweat, and tears. But assumption operates on an entirely different frequency. When you assume you already have something, when you feel it in your bones and live from that knowing, you're not manipulating external circumstances. You're aligning with the natural flow of creation itself. Think about the most successful people you know. Behind the scenes, they don't approach opportunities with desperation or uncertainty. They move through the world with a quiet confidence that opportunities belong to them. This isn't arrogance, it's alignment. They've learned to assume success before it appears, to feel wealthy before the bank account reflects it, to embody abundance before the world validates it. The impact of this shift in understanding cannot be overstated. When you stop trying to force money into your life through sheer effort and start assuming it into your experience through conscious choice, everything changes. Your decisions become different. Your energy transforms. The very way you walk through the world begins to broadcast a signal that attracts what you've assumed to be true. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because there's a specific technique that Florence Scovel Shinn used to help people make this transition from effort to assumption. And it's so simple that most people dismiss it entirely. Yet those who apply it correctly often see dramatic shifts in their financial reality within days. Write in the comments, "I'm ready to assume," if this is resonating with you so far. The technique itself is deceptively simple, yet it's been responsible for more financial transformations than any complex manifestation ritual you'll ever encounter. It's a single phrase, spoken with genuine conviction, that instantly shifts your entire relationship with money. I already have it. Most people hear those 4 words and immediately dismiss them as positive thinking nonsense. But there's something happening behind the scenes when you speak this phrase with real feeling that goes far beyond surface-level affirmations. You're making a conscious choice to align with a reality where your desire already exists, where the money you want is already flowing to you, where the opportunities you need are already seeking you out. The revelation here is understanding the difference between wishful thinking and conscious claiming. When you wishfully think about money, you're operating from lack, hoping that somehow the universe will take pity on your situation and throw you a financial bone. But when you claim, "I already have it," and let that knowing settle deep into your chest, you're operating from a completely different vibrational frequency. Present tense claiming works because your subconscious mind cannot distinguish between what's happening in your imagination and what's happening in your physical reality. When you consistently speak and feel as if your financial desires are already fulfilled, your entire internal system begins to reorganize itself around this new truth. Your decisions shift, your confidence transforms, and most importantly, your energy starts broadcasting the signal of someone who already possesses what they want. This isn't about fooling yourself or living in denial about your current bank balance. It's about recognizing that your current financial situation is simply a reflection of your past consciousness, not a permanent sentence about your future possibilities. Every moment you spend feeling and declaring, "I already have it," you're writing new code into your subconscious programming. The journey from financial struggle to abundance always begins with this internal shift. Those who master this technique understand that wealth is an inside job first and an outside manifestation second. They've learned to feel wealthy before their circumstances reflect it, to embody abundance before their bank account validates it, to live from their desired reality before the world catches up. But here's where most people derail their own transformation. They speak the words without allowing the feeling to penetrate their being. They say, "I already have it," while their chest remains tight with anxiety, their breathing stays shallow with worry, and their entire body language screams the opposite message. The real power emerges when you let this declaration become a living reality within your consciousness. Now, the question becomes, how do you move from simply speaking these words to actually embodying them so deeply that your entire energy field transforms? And this is where we discover the most crucial element that determines whether this technique creates lasting change or becomes just another empty affirmation. Write "already mine" in the comments if you're feeling this shift happening inside you right now. The crucial element that separates those who transform their financial reality from those who remain stuck in endless cycles of hope and disappointment comes down to understanding the profound difference between choosing and wishing. This distinction might seem subtle, but it's the hidden factor that determines whether you become magnetically attractive to wealth or continue repelling it without even realizing what's happening. When you wish for money, you're unconsciously broadcasting a signal of lack to the universe. Wishing implies that what you want is somewhere else, possessed by someone else, available to everyone except you. It's an energy of separation, of longing, of waiting for external circumstances to somehow shift in your favor. This mindset keeps you in a perpetual state of wanting, and the universe responds by giving you more experiences of wanting. But when you choose your financial reality, everything shifts. Choosing implies ownership, presence, and immediate availability. It's a decision that comes from your core, a declaration that what you desire already belongs to you. This isn't about positive thinking or trying to convince yourself of something that feels untrue. It's about recognizing that in the realm of consciousness, where all possibilities exist simultaneously, your wealth is already there, waiting for you to claim it. The transformation happens when you stop leaking energy through wishful thinking and start consolidating your power through conscious choice. Every moment you spend wishing, hoping, or waiting, you're essentially telling the universe that you don't yet possess what you want. But the moment you choose, you step into a completely different relationship with abundance. Leading from the end result means you stop reacting to your current bank balance, your current bills, or your current circumstances as if they're permanent fixtures in your reality. Instead, you respond to everything from the feeling of already having achieved your financial goals. This is what it means to live from your future self rather than being trapped by your current limitations. Your future self, the version of you who already has the money you want, doesn't wake up worried about bills. They don't check their bank account with anxiety. They don't make decisions from scarcity or fear. They move through the world with quiet confidence, making choices that align with abundance because abundance is their natural state of being. The revelation here is that you can access this future version of yourself right now, not by pretending or forcing, but by simply choosing to respond to life from that elevated perspective. When unexpected expenses arise, instead of panicking, you respond with the calm assurance of someone who knows money flows easily to them. When opportunities appear, you don't hesitate or second-guess yourself because you're operating from the mindset of someone who deserves and expects good things. Now, this shift from reacting to responding creates a ripple effect that extends far beyond your bank account. And understanding how this ripple works will show you exactly why. Some people seem to effortlessly attract wealth, while others struggle despite their best efforts. Drop "I choose wealth" in the comments if you're ready to make this shift from wishing to choosing. This ripple effect I mentioned creates a fascinating phenomenon that most people completely sabotage without realizing it. The moment you start questioning whether your manifestation techniques are working, the moment you catch yourself asking, "Did it work? Where's my money? Why isn't anything changing?" You've just pulled yourself right back into the old state of lack that you were trying to escape. It's like planting a seed and then digging it up every day to check if it's growing. The very act of checking comes from doubt, and doubt is the frequency of not having. When you question the process, you're essentially telling the universe that you don't trust what you've set in motion, that you're still operating from the mindset of someone who doesn't have what they want. The people who consistently attract wealth understand this hidden truth. They become the confirmation rather than seeking confirmation from external sources. They don't need their bank account to validate their new state of consciousness because they've already validated it within themselves. Their confidence doesn't depend on seeing immediate results because they know that the inner shift has already occurred, and external changes are simply a matter of time. This is where embodying your new identity becomes absolutely crucial. Your posture, your tone of voice, the way you make decisions throughout your day, everything must begin to reflect the version of you who already possesses the wealth you desire. But here's what most people misunderstand. This isn't about acting or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about remembering who you truly are at your core, beneath all the conditioning and limitations you've accepted about money. Subscribe if you want to continue this journey together, because the conversations we're having here aren't happening everywhere. You've found a place where consciousness work meets practical results, and I want to make sure you don't miss what's coming next. The version of you who already has financial abundance doesn't walk with hunched shoulders or speak with uncertainty. They don't make decisions from fear or scarcity. They don't apologize for taking up space or asking for what they're worth. This isn't arrogance. It's alignment. It's the natural expression of someone who knows their value and expects good things to flow into their life. Your transformation happens in these subtle shifts behind the scenes. The way you answer your phone changes. The way you enter a room transforms. The energy you bring to conversations evolves. People start responding to you differently, not because you're trying to impress them, but because you're no longer trying to hide from your own power. The impact of this identity shift extends into every decision you make. When opportunities arise, you don't hesitate or second-guess yourself because you're operating from the assumption that good things naturally come to you. When challenges appear, you don't panic because you're responding from the perspective of someone who knows they can handle whatever life presents. Now, There's a specific moment in this journey where most people either break through to lasting wealth or fall back into their old patterns. And recognizing this critical point will determine whether your financial transformation becomes permanent or just another temporary high. Type, "I am wealthy," in the comments if you can feel this new identity starting to emerge within you. This critical point arrives when you make the most profound shift in human consciousness, moving from needing to having. This isn't just a mental exercise or a clever mindset trick. It's a fundamental transformation in how you relate to abundance itself. When you truly no longer need something, when that desperate grasping energy dissolves completely, you create the exact energetic space that allows wealth to flow into your life naturally. Think about how this works in your current reality. The things you desperately need often seem to elude you, while the things you're relaxed about tend to show up effortlessly. This isn't coincidence. It's the universe responding to your energetic signature. Needing creates resistance, while having creates flow. The moment you stop broadcasting the frequency of lack, abundance has no choice but to respond. The beautiful revelation here is that once you've made this internal shift from needing to having, you don't need to spend your entire day repeating affirmations or convincing yourself that you're wealthy. That kind of forced repetition actually comes from the very needing energy you're trying to transcend. When you truly know something, when it becomes part of your core identity, you embody it effortlessly. Consider how you don't need to remind yourself all day that you're breathing, or that your heart is beating, or that you deserve to take up space in the world. These things are so deeply integrated into your being that they happen automatically. The same principle applies to wealth consciousness. Once you genuinely know that abundance is your natural state, once you've shifted from the frequency of needing to the frequency of having, you simply walk in that confidence without question. This is where the real transformation becomes visible to others. You're no longer trying to prove your worth or convince anyone, including yourself, that you deserve prosperity. There's a quiet assurance in your voice, a natural ease in your movements, a peaceful expectation that good things flow to you, because that's simply how your world works now. The journey from doubt to certainty isn't about building up evidence from the outside world. It's about dissolving the internal resistance that was blocking your natural connection to abundance. You stop doubting your worthiness, not because someone finally validated you, but because you remembered something that was always true about who you are beneath all the conditioning. Your decisions begin flowing from this new foundation of knowing rather than the old foundation of hoping. You don't hesitate when opportunities present themselves, because hesitation comes from uncertainty. And you're no longer uncertain about your relationship with money. You don't second-guess your value because you're no longer seeking external confirmation of something you've already confirmed within yourself. Now, there's something that happens in the external world when you reach this level of internal certainty, and understanding this phenomenon will help you recognize when your consciousness shift is beginning to create real, tangible changes in your financial reality. Write, "I know I'm worthy" in the comments. If you can feel this shift from needing to knowing happening inside you right now, this phenomenon I'm referring to is what separates those who experience lasting financial transformation from those who give up just moments before their breakthrough. When you've genuinely shifted your consciousness from needing to knowing, when that internal certainty has taken root, there's often a period where nothing appears to change on the surface. Your bank account looks the same, your circumstances seem unchanged, and this is precisely where most people panic and restart the entire process. But here's what's happening behind the scenes during this crucial period. You've shifted something far deeper than surface appearances. Your entire vibrational frequency has transformed, and the physical world needs time to catch up to your new energetic signature. Think of it like changing the temperature on a thermostat. You adjust the setting, but it takes time for the entire room to reflect that new temperature. The change is inevitable, but it's not instantaneous. The people who consistently manifest wealth understand this universal timing and refuse to panic during the adjustment period. They've learned to trust the process because they can feel the internal shift has already occurred. They're not waiting for external validation to confirm their new state of consciousness because they're too busy living from it. When you maintain your new state consistently, when you refuse to drop back into the old frequency of doubt and lack, external changes must follow. This isn't hope or wishful thinking. It's spiritual law. The call comes from an unexpected source. The opportunity appears that you never could have planned. The numbers in your account begin to change in ways that feel obvious rather than surprising. The transformation happens so naturally that by the time money starts flowing into your life, it doesn't feel like a miracle. It feels like a natural consequence of who you've become. The desperate energy that once surrounded your relationship with money has dissolved, replaced by a quiet expectation that abundance seeks you out because you're no longer pushing it away with resistance. Your decision-making process transforms completely during this period. Instead of making choices from fear or scarcity, you start making decisions that align with your new identity as someone who naturally attracts wealth. You don't hesitate to invest in yourself or your future because you're operating from abundance consciousness rather than survival mode. The impact of this shift ripples through every area of your life. People respond to you differently because you're no longer carrying the energy of someone who's struggling financially. Opportunities that were always there but invisible to your previous mindset suddenly become obvious. Your entire world begins to reorganize itself around your new level of expectation. Now, there's a specific moment when you know beyond any doubt that your consciousness shift has become permanent, and recognizing this moment will give you unshakable confidence that your financial transformation is not just temporary, but has become your new, normal way of being. Write "It's working" in the comments if you're starting to feel this inevitable shift happening in your own life. This specific moment when you know your transformation has become permanent reveals itself through a profound shift in how you carry yourself through the world. True power doesn't announce itself with loud declarations or desperate affirmations shouted into the void. Real wealth consciousness operates through quiet, unwavering expectation. Your energy begins speaking louder than any words you could ever say because you're no longer trying to convince anyone, including yourself, of something that has become as natural as breathing. You'll notice this transformation first in the small moments. When someone asks about your financial situation, there's no defensive energy in your response. When opportunities arise, you don't grab at them with desperation, but evaluate them with the discernment of someone who knows more opportunities are always coming. When unexpected expenses appear, you handle them with the calm assurance of someone who trusts their ability to generate money. The revelation here is that you've stopped performing wealth and started embodying it. There's no longer a gap between who you are in private and how you show up in the world, because the internal shift has become so complete that authenticity is effortless. You're not trying to project confidence. You simply are confident because you're operating from a foundation of knowing rather than hoping. Training yourself to respond to your inner truth rather than outer delays becomes the cornerstone of maintaining this transformation. The version of you who already has the money you want isn't sitting around questioning whether it's working or when it's going to happen. They're busy building, creating, and opening doors, because that's what people with abundant mindsets naturally do. Your decision-making process undergoes a complete revolution during this phase. Instead of waiting for external circumstances to give you permission to act abundantly, you start making choices that align with your wealthy identity regardless of what your current bank balance looks like. You invest in yourself, you pursue opportunities, you speak up for your worth, because these behaviors flow naturally from your new state of consciousness. The impact of responding to inner knowing rather than outer appearances creates a feedback loop that accelerates your manifestation. Every time you choose to trust your internal guidance over external evidence, you strengthen your connection to abundance consciousness. Every time you act from knowing rather than needing, you send a clear signal to the universe about who you've become. People around you begin to notice something has fundamentally changed, though they might not be able to articulate exactly what it is. There's a presence about you now, a quiet authority that wasn't there before. You're no longer seeking validation or approval because you've found your center within yourself. Now, this transformation creates a fascinating phenomenon where the very act of no longer needing external proof becomes the catalyst that brings undeniable proof into your physical reality. And understanding this paradox will show you exactly why your breakthrough is closer than you might imagine. Put "I trust my knowing" in the comments if you're feeling this shift from seeking external validation to trusting your inner guidance. This paradox I mentioned reveals itself in the most unexpected way. The moment you stop desperately seeking external proof of your transformation is precisely when that proof becomes inevitable. When your financial results feel quiet, when there's a sense of stillness around your money situation, most people interpret this as failure or stagnation. But what's actually happening behind the scenes is that you've successfully left the vibration of seeking and entered the signal of completion. The seeking energy is frantic, desperate, constantly scanning the environment for signs of progress. But the completion energy is calm, assured, quietly expectant. When you're no longer vibrating at the frequency of "I need this to happen," you've created the perfect energetic space for abundance to manifest naturally. This is the moment where your reality truly begins to catch up to your transformed consciousness. Your breakthrough is closer than you imagine because you've stopped pushing against it with the resistance that seeking energy creates. The universe responds to completion consciousness completely differently than it responds to needing consciousness. When you're seeking, you're broadcasting lack. When you're complete, you're broadcasting abundance. The shift is subtle, but the impact is revolutionary. Now comes the most crucial phase of your entire transformation journey. Staying in this new version of yourself, regardless of what external circumstances try to tell you. This is where most people sabotage their progress without realizing it. The old identity, sensing that it's about to be permanently displaced, will make one final attempt to call you back to the familiar territory of limitation and struggle. You'll hear that old voice whispering doubts. Maybe this isn't working. Maybe you should go back to the old way of doing things. Maybe you're just fooling yourself. This isn't your intuition speaking. This is the dying breath of a consciousness pattern that no longer serves you. Your only job during this critical phase is to not answer that call. The transformation becomes permanent when you develop the emotional maturity to stay loyal to your new identity even when the external world hasn't caught up yet. This requires a level of faith in yourself that most people never develop because they abandon the process the moment they don't see immediate external validation. But you're different. You understand that every moment you spend in the new version of yourself, every decision you make from abundance consciousness, every time you choose knowing over doubting, you're strengthening the neural pathways that make this transformation irreversible. Your brain is literally rewiring itself to match your new financial identity. The impact of this unwavering commitment to your evolved self creates a momentum that becomes unstoppable. Each day, you refuse to drop back into the old patterns. Each moment you choose to respond from wealth consciousness rather than scarcity consciousness. You're building an internal foundation so solid that external circumstances have no choice but to rearrange themselves to match it. Now, there's a specific technique that Florence Scovel Shinn discovered for maintaining this new identity, even when everything around you seems to be testing your resolve. And mastering this technique is what separates temporary positive thinking from permanent consciousness transformation. Type, "I stay in my power," in the comments if you're committed to not letting the old identity pull you back into limitation. This technique that Florence Scovel Shinn discovered for maintaining unwavering commitment to your new identity is deceptively simple yet profoundly powerful. Holding without compromise. The hidden truth she uncovered is that most people experience the transformation once, feel the shift briefly, taste the freedom of abundant thinking for a moment, and then immediately shrink back the instant nothing appears to change in their external circumstances. They assume their wealthy identity for a day, maybe two, feel the internal shift happening, and then when their bank account still shows the same number, when the bills still arrive, when their situation looks unchanged, they unconsciously retreat back to the familiar territory of limitation. This is where the journey ends for most people, not because the process doesn't work, but because they don't possess the emotional maturity to hold their new state without immediate external validation. The ones who receive fully, consistently, and permanently are those who understand that holding without compromise means exactly that, no compromise. When doubt whispers, they don't entertain the conversation. When circumstances appear challenging, they don't interpret this as evidence that their transformation isn't working. When the old patterns try to reassert themselves, they simply refuse to give them any power. This level of emotional maturity and manifestation requires you to develop an unshakable relationship with your own inner authority. You must become so grounded in your truth, so anchored in your new identity, that external delays and apparent contradictions become irrelevant to your internal knowing. This isn't about being stubborn or ignoring reality. It's about recognizing that your inner transformation is the true reality and everything else is simply catching up. The transformation behind the scenes during this holding phase is extraordinary. Your nervous system begins to rewire itself to match your new baseline of abundance. Your decision-making patterns shift permanently. Your energy field transforms so completely that people respond to you differently even before your circumstances change. This is the real work, not the moment of initial assumption, but the sustained commitment to living from that assumption regardless of what appears to be happening around you. Florence Scovel Shinn observed that those who master this phase develop what she called divine stubbornness, an unwillingness to be moved from their chosen state by any external condition. They become emotionally unmovable, not through force or effort, but through the deep knowing that their consciousness is the determining factor in their experience. The impact of this unwavering commitment creates a momentum that eventually becomes unstoppable. Each day you hold your new state without compromise. Each moment you refuse to drop back into old patterns of thinking and feeling about money. You're building an energetic foundation so solid that your physical reality has no choice but to reflect it. Now, there's something miraculous that happens when you reach this level of emotional stability in your new identity, something that transforms not just your bank account, but your entire relationship with abundance itself. Write, "I hold my truth," in the comments if you're ready to commit to this level of emotional maturity and unwavering dedication to your transformation. This miraculous transformation I mentioned reveals itself in the most beautiful way. The process becomes effortlessly simple rather than complicated and stressful. Once you reach this level of emotional stability in your new wealthy identity, you realize you don't need to repeat the entire manifestation process every day. You don't need to search for new methods or more powerful techniques. And you definitely don't need to convince yourself over and over again that you deserve abundance. The revelation here is that sustaining your transformation becomes as natural as keeping your body relaxed after you've released physical tension. You don't have to continuously remind your shoulders to stay loose or your jaw to unclench. Once you've let go of the tightness, relaxation becomes your default state. The same principle applies to your relationship with money. Once you've genuinely released the grip of scarcity consciousness, abundance consciousness becomes your natural way of being. Your journey simplifies into 3 gentle actions. Stay in your new state when life feels easy. Return to it when you notice yourself slipping into old patterns, and hold it steady regardless of external circumstances. There's no force involved, no exhausting mental gymnastics, no desperate daily rituals. It's the quiet consistency of someone who has found their center and chooses to remain there. But here's where the real magic happens behind the scenes. You stop checking for external signs of progress because you realize something profound has occurred within you. When your energy shifts authentically, when your internal transformation becomes complete, you literally become the sign you were previously seeking from the outside world. Your very presence begins to reflect your new reality before your bank account does. People start responding to you differently, not because you're trying to impress them or project an image, but because you're no longer carrying the energetic signature of someone who struggles with money. Opportunities begin appearing in conversations. Connections start forming naturally, and doors open that you never even knew existed. This isn't coincidence. It's the inevitable result of your shifted consciousness broadcasting a completely new signal to the world. The impact of becoming your own confirmation rather than seeking it externally creates a feedback loop that accelerates everything. You're no longer dependent on external validation to feel confident about your financial future, because your confidence comes from the unshakable knowing that you've transformed at the deepest level. Your decision-making, your posture, your tone of voice, the way you negotiate, the way you show up in business situations, everything reflects this new internal reality. Your transformation has reached the point where you don't question whether it's working, because you can feel it working in every cell of your body, in every thought that flows through your mind, in every choice you make throughout your day. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic because there's a specific moment when you know with absolute certainty that your financial transformation has become irreversible, and recognizing this moment will give you complete confidence that you've crossed the line into permanent abundance consciousness. Share "I am the sign" in the comments if you can feel yourself becoming the evidence of your own transformation. This specific moment when you know your transformation has become irreversible arrives with a quiet revelation that changes everything. The world simply stops reflecting lack back to you. It's not that you stop noticing problems or challenges. It's that your relationship to these experiences fundamentally transforms. When you've truly stopped broadcasting the frequency of limitation and scarcity, life can no longer respond with experiences that match that old signal, because that signal no longer exists within you. Your entire identity undergoes a profound shift from operating in someday consciousness to living in now consciousness. The version of you who used to think, someday I'll have enough money, someday I'll feel secure, someday I'll be able to afford what I want, dissolves completely. In its place emerges someone who naturally expects abundance, who assumes opportunities will appear, who moves through the world with the quiet confidence of someone whose relationship with money has been permanently altered. The transformation becomes so complete that staying in the state of already done isn't something you do for a few minutes during meditation or for a few hours when you remember to practice. It becomes your home frequency, the baseline from which you operate automatically. Throughout every moment of your day, this abundance consciousness becomes so deeply embedded in your being that dropping back into lack-based thinking feels foreign, uncomfortable, like trying to wear clothes that no longer fit. Behind the scenes, your nervous system has completely rewired itself to match this new reality. Your brain has formed new neural pathways that support wealth consciousness, while the old pathways of scarcity thinking have weakened from lack of use. This isn't temporary. Positive thinking. This is permanent neurological change that supports your new financial identity at the most fundamental level. The impact of this transformation extends far beyond your bank account. Your decision-making process operates from abundance rather than survival mode. Your relationships improve because you're no longer carrying the stress and anxiety that scarcity consciousness creates. Your health benefits from the reduced cortisol and stress hormones that used to flood your system when you worried about money. Your creativity flourishes because you're no longer focused on lack, but on possibility. People in your life begin to notice something has fundamentally shifted, though they may not be able to articulate exactly what it is. There's a presence about you now, a natural authority that comes from someone who has resolved their internal conflicts about deserving abundance. You're no longer apologizing for your success or downplaying your worth because those behaviors came from the old identity that no longer exists. The journey reaches a point where maintaining this new frequency requires no effort because it has become who you are rather than something you do. You don't have to remember to think abundantly. You simply do because abundance thinking has become your natural default setting. Now there's one final element that completes this transformation and ensures that your new relationship with money becomes not just permanent, but continues to expand and deepen throughout your entire life. Drop "This is my new normal" in the comments if you can feel this shift from temporary practice to permanent identity happening within you. This final element that completes your transformation and ensures lasting change is what Florence Scovel Shinn called emotional loyalty to your new state. This goes far beyond imagination or visualization techniques. Emotional loyalty means you develop an unwavering faithfulness to the feelings that match your abundant identity. You refuse to entertain the old emotions of lack, limitation, worry, and financial anxiety, not through force or denial, but through a gentle, consistent choice to remain aligned with your new vibrational reality. Most people underestimate how crucial this emotional component truly is. They'll do the mental work, repeat the affirmations, visualize their desired outcomes, but then spend the rest of their day feeling exactly the same way they always felt about money. True. Transformation happens when you become emotionally loyal to abundance consciousness, when you choose to feel wealthy, secure, and expectant regardless of what temporary circumstances might suggest. The shift becomes permanent when you stop rehearsing your limitations in conversations with others. You no longer explain to friends why you can't afford something or apologize for stepping into greater abundance. You don't justify your new level of confidence or downplay the positive changes happening in your life. This isn't about becoming arrogant or disconnected from reality. It's about refusing to give energy to thoughts and conversations that reinforce the old identity you've outgrown. Behind the scenes, this creates a remarkable transformation in how you move through the world. You walk quietly and clearly with the full energy of someone who has already crossed the line into their new financial reality. There's no need to announce your transformation or prove anything to anyone, because the change is so deeply integrated that it speaks for itself through your presence. Your decision-making process reflects this emotional loyalty. When opportunities arise, you don't second-guess your worthiness or talk yourself out of possibilities that align with your abundant identity. When challenges appear, you handle them from the perspective of someone who knows they're capable and resourceful, rather than from the old mindset of someone who feels overwhelmed by financial pressure. The impact of this emotional faithfulness extends into every interaction you have. People respond to your energy differently because you're no longer broadcasting the frequency of someone who struggles with money. Your conversations become more focused on possibilities rather than problems, on creation rather than limitation, on expansion rather than contraction. You develop what can only be described as a quiet authority around money matters, not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because you've resolved the internal conflicts that used to create anxiety and uncertainty. You've become emotionally loyal to the version of yourself that naturally attracts and manages wealth effectively. Now, there's something extraordinary that happens when you combine this emotional loyalty with the practical actions that flow from abundance consciousness. And understanding this combination will show you exactly how to accelerate the manifestation of your financial desires. Write "I am emotionally loyal" in the comments if you're ready to commit to this level of consistency between your inner state and your daily emotional experience. This extraordinary combination of emotional loyalty and aligned action creates something remarkable that most people never experience: The most transformative moments begin happening in complete silence, without fanfare, without external proof, without anyone else even noticing that a profound shift has occurred within you. There are no fireworks, no lightning bolts, no dramatic announcements from the universe. Just a subtle, steady knowing that settles into your bones and whispers with quiet certainty that it's already accomplished. These silent, powerful moments are where the real magic lives. While others are looking for dramatic signs and external validation of their manifestation work, you're experiencing the deep, internal knowing that transcends any need for proof. The transformation happens in the space between thoughts, in the pause between breaths, in those quiet moments when you simply know without question that your relationship with money has fundamentally and permanently changed. What emerges from this internal certainty is something beautiful. You stop needing reassurance from the outside world because you've become reassurance itself. When friends express their financial worries, your very presence becomes calming, not because you're trying to fix their problems, but because you embody a different relationship with abundance. When challenges arise in your own life, you don't panic or seek validation from others because you've become your own source of confidence and clarity. The impact of this transformation is visible in the subtlest ways. You walk with a softness that looks like confidence, not the hard-edged fake confidence of someone trying to convince themselves, but the gentle assurance of someone who has found their center. You speak with unwavering clarity because your words flow from internal knowing rather than external hoping. Your decision-making becomes effortless because you're no longer second-guessing your worthiness or capabilities. Behind the scenes, your entire nervous system has calibrated to this new level of inner authority. You've developed what can only be described as financial serenity, a peaceful relationship with money that comes from having resolved the internal conflicts that once created anxiety and stress around abundance. You're no longer at war with wealth or apologetic about deserving it. The journey reaches a point where you realize you've become the person others turn to for reassurance about their own financial situations, not because you give advice or try to fix their problems, but because your energy field has become so stable and grounded in abundance consciousness that others naturally feel calmer in your presence. Your transformation has created a ripple effect that extends far beyond your personal bank account. You've become living proof that financial anxiety and money stress are optional experiences, that there's another way to relate to abundance that feels peaceful, natural, and sustainable. Now, this level of internal transformation creates a fascinating phenomenon where money begins flowing to you through channels you never could have predicted or planned. And recognizing how this works will help you understand why your breakthrough often comes from the most unexpected directions. Share I am my own reassurance in the comments if you can feel this shift from seeking external validation to becoming your own source of confidence and knowing. This fascinating phenomenon I mentioned reveals itself through what appears to be a cosmic calibration rather than a test. The universe isn't trying to trip you up or make your journey more difficult. It's calibrating your consciousness to determine whether you can live from your truth before being externally rewarded for it. This calibration period determines whether you become truly untouchable in your manifestation abilities or remain dependent on external validation for your confidence. The hidden truth behind this calibration is that it's not about proving your worthiness to some external force. It's about developing the internal stability to maintain your abundant identity regardless of circumstances. Can you walk with the confidence of someone who has money when your bank account doesn't reflect it yet? Can you make decisions from abundance consciousness when your current situation suggests scarcity? This is where most people reveal whether their transformation is genuine or surface level. Behind the scenes, something extraordinary happens to those who pass this calibration period with emotional maturity and unwavering commitment to their new identity. They discover the ultimate paradox of manifestation. By the time their financial desires actually arrive in physical form, they no longer need those results to prove anything about their worth, their capabilities, or their relationship with abundance. This paradox breaks the cycle of need that was previously blocking the flow of money into their lives. When you desperately need something to happen to validate your transformation, that very need creates resistance in the energetic field around your desires. But when you've developed such a solid internal foundation of abundance consciousness that external results become optional rather than essential, you've removed the energetic blocks that were preventing flow. The transformation reaches a point where money begins appearing through the most unexpected channels because you're no longer attached to how it arrives, only certain that it will. Unexpected refunds appear, forgotten investments mature, new opportunities surface from conversations you never anticipated, old debts get repaid without reminder. The universe responds to your detachment from outcome with an abundance of pathways you never could have orchestrated through effort alone. Your decision-making process reflects this newfound freedom from need-based thinking. You pursue opportunities because they align with your vision, not because you desperately need them to work out. You invest in yourself and your growth because you trust your ability to generate wealth, not because you're trying to force a specific result. This relaxed confidence becomes magnetically attractive to abundance in all its forms. The impact of breaking the need cycle extends far beyond financial manifestation. Your relationships improve because you're no longer carrying the stress and anxiety that scarcity consciousness creates. Your health benefits from operating in this relaxed, trusting state rather than the fight-or-flight mode that desperation triggers. Now, this level of internal freedom creates the perfect conditions for what Florence Scovel Shinn called divine alignment, where your desires manifest not through struggle, but through synchronicity. And understanding how this alignment works will show you exactly why your breakthrough is inevitable once you reach this level of consciousness. Put "I break the cycle" in the comments if you're ready to release the need for external validation and trust your internal transformation completely. This divine alignment that Florence Scovel Shinn discovered operates through a principle that might seem counterintuitive at first, but reveals itself as pure design rather than delusion. Living from your future self as if your financial achievements are already memories rather than goals you're striving toward. This isn't about pretending or forcing yourself to believe something untrue. It's about accessing the version of yourself who has already walked the path you're currently on. When you start making decisions from the perspective of someone who has already created the wealth you desire, something remarkable happens behind the scenes. Your brain begins processing possibilities differently because you're no longer operating from the anxiety and uncertainty of someone trying to figure out how to get there. Instead, you're drawing from the wisdom and confidence of someone who has already navigated this transformation successfully. The revelation here is understanding that all great transformation happens from the inside out, never the reverse. Your future self already exists in potential, complete with all the knowledge, confidence, and abundance. Consciousness you're developing now. When you learn to access that version of yourself and make choices from that elevated perspective, you accelerate your manifestation process exponentially because you're no longer guessing about what works. You're remembering. This process works exactly like changing a thermostat in your home. Your internal signal, your consciousness, your identity. This is your thermostat setting. When you adjust it to match the temperature of wealth consciousness, your external reality needs time to catch up and reflect that new internal temperature. The crucial element that most people miss is that once you've changed your internal thermostat, you must resist the urge to keep adjusting the dial every few minutes when you don't immediately feel the room getting warmer. The impact of trusting this process, rather than constantly second-guessing yourself, creates the perfect conditions for synchronicity to unfold. When you stop interfering with the natural adjustment period, when you maintain your new internal setting consistently, your external circumstances have no choice but to reorganize themselves to match your new vibrational frequency. Your decision-making process reflects this trust in natural timing. You don't panic when results feel slow because you understand that the most profound changes often happen gradually, almost imperceptibly, until suddenly everything clicks into place. You don't restart the process every few days because you recognize that consistency is what allows the internal shift to take hold permanently. Behind the scenes, your nervous system is rewiring itself to support this new baseline of abundance consciousness. Every day, you maintain your new internal setting. Every moment, you resist the temptation to drop back into old patterns of doubt and impatience. You're allowing this transformation to root itself more deeply in your being. Now, there's a specific sign that indicates your internal thermostat has successfully reset, and your external reality is beginning its inevitable adjustment to match your new wealth consciousness. And recognizing this sign will give you complete confidence in your transformation. Type, "I trust the process," in the comments if you're ready to stop adjusting the dial and allow your internal transformation to naturally reshape your external reality. This specific sign that indicates your internal thermostat has successfully reset reveals itself through a profound shift in what kind of discipline your transformation actually requires. Most people think manifestation demands discipline of action, doing more, working harder, following complex rituals, or maintaining exhausting daily practices. But the real discipline that creates lasting wealth consciousness is much more subtle and infinitely more powerful. It's the discipline of awareness. This discipline asks one simple question of you. Can you stay loyal to your new version of yourself while the old version of your life still appears to linger in physical form? Can you maintain your wealthy identity when your bank statement doesn't reflect it yet? Can you hold your abundant consciousness when bills arrive or unexpected expenses appear? This isn't about ignoring reality. It's about recognizing that your current external circumstances are simply the lag time between your old consciousness and your new one. The transformation deepens when you develop the gentle art of returning instead of reacting. When you catch yourself falling back into old patterns of checking your bank account with anxiety, refreshing your email hoping for financial opportunities, or spiraling into worry about money, you learn to pause in that moment and simply return to your truth, not through force or self-criticism, but through the loving correction of someone who has remembered their way home. Behind the scenes, This practice of gentle returning rather than reactive panic creates the most stable foundation for permanent transformation. Each time you notice yourself slipping into old patterns and consciously choose to return to your new identity, you're strengthening the neural pathways that support wealth consciousness while weakening the pathways that supported scarcity thinking. Your decision-making process reflects this new level of awareness. Instead of making choices from the emotional state that circumstances trigger, you pause, reconnect with your truth, and then respond from your authentic, wealthy identity. This isn't about suppressing emotions or pretending everything is fine. It's about maintaining your center regardless of what temporary experiences might be moving through your life. The impact of this disciplined awareness extends into every interaction you have throughout your day. Conversations about money become opportunities to practice staying in your truth rather than getting pulled into collective anxiety about economic conditions. Unexpected financial challenges become chances to demonstrate to yourself how someone with wealth consciousness naturally handles such situations. Your journey reaches a level of sophistication where you recognize that every moment offers a choice. React from the old identity or return to the new one. This choice becomes so natural, so automatic, that maintaining your abundant consciousness requires no effort because you've trained yourself to default to truth rather than circumstance. Now, there's something remarkable that happens when you master this discipline of awareness and gentle returning, something that transforms not just how you relate to money, but how money begins to relate to you in ways that will surprise and delight you. Share "I choose to return" in the comments if you're ready to embrace this gentle discipline of staying loyal to your truth, regardless of temporary circumstances. This remarkable transformation I mentioned happens when you realize the most profound truth about your entire financial journey. You're not actually creating something new or trying to become someone different. You're simply remembering what was always yours and releasing beliefs in lack, limitation, and unworthiness that were never actually true about you in the first place. These limiting beliefs were learned, borrowed from others, absorbed from culture, but they were never authentic to your essential nature. The revelation of dropping what was never true creates an immediate shift in your energy field. When you release the false stories about not being worthy of wealth, not deserving abundance, or not being capable of financial success, you don't feel empty or lost. You feel lighter, more authentic, more like your real self than you felt in years. This isn't about building up false confidence or convincing yourself of something that feels untrue. It's about stripping away the layers of conditioning that obscured your natural relationship with abundance. Behind the scenes, this process of releasing false beliefs creates space for something beautiful to emerge. You become naturally available to opportunities that were always present but invisible to your previous mindset. When you drop the urgency, the trying, the desperate grasping energy that scarcity consciousness creates, you enter a state of receptivity that allows abundance to flow into your experience through the most surprising channels. Your transformation reaches a level where opportunities begin appearing in casual conversations, chance encounters, unexpected connections, and synchronistic events that you never could have orchestrated through effort alone. This happens not because the universe suddenly decided to favor you, but because you've removed the energetic resistance that was blocking your awareness of what was always available. The impact of decreased tension around money manifests in every area of your life. Your sleep improves because you're no longer lying awake worried about finances. Your relationships become more harmonious because you're not carrying the stress and anxiety that financial pressure creates. Your creativity flourishes because your mental energy is no longer consumed by survival concerns. Your decision-making process reflects this new availability to abundance. You notice opportunities that align with your vision rather than desperately grasping at anything that might provide security. You can evaluate possibilities from a place of discernment rather than desperation. You make choices that honor your worth rather than accepting whatever is offered out of fear. The journey reaches a point where abundance starts seeking you out rather than you chasing after it. People begin bringing opportunities to your attention. Resources appear when you need them. Money flows through channels you never anticipated because you've become energetically available to receive rather than blocked by trying. Now, this state of natural availability creates the perfect conditions for what Florence Scovel Shinn called effortless attraction, where wealth begins flowing to you not because you're working harder, but because you've finally stopped working against yourself. Write, "I remember my worth" in the comments if you can feel this shift from trying to create abundance to simply allowing what was always yours to emerge. This effortless attraction that Florence Scovel Shinn discovered creates the most delightful phenomenon. Wealth begins appearing through channels you never could have anticipated or planned. Unexpected deposits show up in your account from sources you'd forgotten about. Overdue payments that you'd written off suddenly arrive without any effort on your part. Refunds appear from companies for services you barely remembered purchasing. New income streams emerge from conversations, connections, and opportunities that seem to materialize out of nowhere. The hidden truth behind this phenomenon is that these pathways to abundance were always there, but your previous vibration was unknowingly denying them. When you operated from scarcity consciousness, when your energy field was broadcasting lack and limitation, you were essentially telling the universe that you weren't ready to receive through these channels. But now that your vibration no longer denies abundance, now that your consciousness has upgraded to match wealth rather than want, these opportunities can finally reach you. Behind the scenes, something remarkable is happening that most people never understand. You've been doing the most valuable work possible. Not networking, not grinding harder, not following more complex strategies, but upgrading your identity at the deepest level. When your identity transforms from someone who struggles with money to someone who naturally attracts wealth, your entire reality has no choice but to rearrange itself to match this new version of you. This isn't just a motivational concept or wishful thinking. It's a fundamental law that operates as consistently as gravity once you align with it fully. Your identity is the broadcasting station that sends out the signal of who you are to the world, and the world responds by reflecting back experiences that match that signal. When you upgrade the station, you upgrade the entire network of experiences that flow into your life. Your decision-making process reflects this identity transformation in ways that create cascading positive effects. You speak up for your worth in professional situations because someone with your new identity naturally does that. You pursue opportunities that align with your vision because that's how people with wealth consciousness operate. You invest in yourself and your growth because you've become someone who recognizes their value and acts accordingly. The impact of this identity work extends far beyond your bank account. Your relationships improve because you're no longer carrying the energy of someone who feels lacking or desperate. Your health benefits because you're operating from a place of inner security rather than constant stress about financial survival. Your creativity flourishes because your mental energy is no longer consumed by worry and anxiety. The journey reaches a level where the changes feel so natural, so obvious, that you almost forget how different things used to be. The version of you who used to stress about money, who used to feel unworthy of abundance, who used to operate from scarcity, consciousness, that person feels like a distant memory rather than who you were just months ago. Now, there's one final element that completes this transformation and ensures that your new relationship with abundance becomes not just permanent, but continues to expand exponentially throughout your entire life. Drop "My identity has upgraded" in the comments if you can feel this fundamental shift in who you are at your core, regardless of what external circumstances might temporarily suggest. This final element that completes your transformation and ensures exponential expansion of your abundance is perhaps the most beautiful aspect of this entire journey. When doubt inevitably surfaces, and it might, even after all this inner work, you no longer collapse into panic or desperation. Instead, something remarkable happens. You find yourself smiling, taking a deep breath, and standing firmly in your knowing, because you've experienced this process before, and you trust completely what happens next. The transformation reaches its most mature expression when doubt becomes simply another weather pattern moving through your consciousness rather than a catastrophic event that derails your progress. You've developed such a solid foundation of wealth consciousness that temporary doubts feel like clouds passing over the sun. They might create momentary shadows, but they don't change the fact that the sun is still shining behind them. Behind the scenes, your nervous system has become so calibrated to abundance consciousness that doubt no longer triggers the fight-or-flight response it once did. Your body remains relaxed, your breathing stays steady, and your decision-making continues to flow from your wealthy identity rather than from fear-based reactivity. This is the sign of someone whose transformation has become truly permanent. The miracle that Florence Scovel Shinn witnessed time and again reveals itself in this final understanding. The world doesn't change first, and then you get to feel abundant and confident. You change first, you upgrade your consciousness first, you align with your true abundant nature first, and then, slowly but surely, the outer realm rearranges itself to match your inner transformation. Not because you demanded it, not because you forced it, but because you finally stopped fighting against your own natural relationship with prosperity. Your decision-making process reflects this deep trust in the natural order of transformation. You make choices from your evolved identity even when external evidence hasn't caught up yet. You speak from your wealth consciousness even when your bank account is still adjusting. You walk through the world with the quiet authority of someone who knows that inner change always precedes outer change, and that this process is as reliable as the seasons. The impact of trusting this inside-out approach extends into every aspect of your existence. Your relationships reflect your new level of self-worth. Your career opportunities align with your expanded sense of possibility. Your health improves because you're no longer operating from the chronic stress that scarcity consciousness creates. Your entire life becomes a testament to the power of consciousness to reshape reality from within. Now, understanding this fundamental principle of inner change preceding outer change opens the door to the most advanced aspect of wealth consciousness, where your abundance begins to serve not just your own life, but creates ripple effects that impact everyone around you in ways you never imagined possible. Share inner change first in the comments. If you can feel the truth of this principle settling into your bones and becoming the foundation of how you approach all transformation. This advanced aspect of wealth consciousness, where your abundance begins creating ripple effects that transform not just your own life, but positively impacts everyone around you, reveals the true purpose of this inner transformation. When you've mastered the art of changing from within first, when you've become living proof that consciousness shapes reality, you naturally become a source of inspiration and possibility for others who are ready to begin their own journey. The people in your life start to notice something different about your energy, your decision-making, your relationship with challenges and opportunities. Without saying a word about manifestation or consciousness work, you begin demonstrating through your very presence that there's another way to relate to abundance, another way to move through the world, another way to respond to life that feels peaceful, confident, and genuinely prosperous. Your transformation becomes complete when you realize that everything you've learned, everything you've experienced, every shift in consciousness you've made hasn't just been for your own benefit. It's been preparing you to hold a different frequency in the world, to be part of the solution to humanity's collective relationship with scarcity, to show others through your living example that abundance consciousness is not only possible, but natural. If you made it all the way to this moment, if these words have been resonating with something deep inside you, then this message was meant for you. You're not here by accident. You're part of a growing number of people who are ready to transform not just their bank accounts, but their entire approach to what's possible in life. I'd love for you to subscribe to this channel because the conversations we're having here aren't happening in most places. The connection you felt while listening, that sense of recognition and remembering, that's exactly what you'll find in every video we create together. There's something powerful about having a space where these truths can be explored and integrated naturally. Hit the like button if you feel that connection we've built over these past minutes, because it tells me that this content is reaching the right people, the ones who are ready for this level of transformation. There's a video right here that goes even deeper into the practical application of everything we've discussed today. Click and continue with me over there, because your journey into true abundance consciousness is just beginning.